Every night, without fail, a silent, profound transformation sweeps across our world. Billions of minds, vibrant and buzzing with the day's information, experiences, and anxieties, slowly dim their internal lights. Muscles relax, breathing deepens, and consciousness drifts into the enigmatic realm of slumber. It's a ritual as ancient as life itself, a surrender to an instinct so powerful that even the most determined among us eventually succumb. But have you ever stopped to truly consider the sheer audacity of this act? For roughly a third of our lives, we lie vulnerable, seemingly unproductive, lost to the waking world. Why? Why did evolution bake this universal necessity into our very DNA? What grand, cosmic bargain did our ancestors strike with the universe that demanded this nightly retreat? Now lean in and let your imagination take flight with me. What if that bargain was suddenly, irrevocably broken? What if one ordinary morning humanity awoke, but the switch that turned off our minds at night simply vanished? No more yawns, no more heavy eyelids, no more desperate longing for the pillow. The concept sounds almost like a superpower at first glance, doesn't it? An endless day, a perpetual state of productivity, boundless hours stretching before us to conquer, to create, to learn. Imagine the advancements, the sheer volume of work that could be achieved without the wasted hours of sleep. Think of the extra time with loved ones, the projects finally completed, the books finally read. It feels like a liberation, a grand expansion of human potential. But what if this perceived gift was, in fact, the most devastating curse imaginable? What if sleep isn't a luxury or even just a rest, but the invisible bedrock upon which our entire existence, our sanity, our society, and our very humanity are built? What if, in its absence, we wouldn't just be more productive, but we would unravel piece by excruciating piece? Today, we plunge into that chilling hypothetical. We're going to explore a world where the night never truly ends, because the dream never begins. A world where humanity is forced to live in a perpetual state of wakefulness, and the consequences are far more terrifying than any nightmare. Get ready to lose some sleep contemplating this one, because the answers might just make you appreciate your next 8 hours more than ever before. Hash the biological onslaught. When the body cries enough, let's start with the most immediate, brutal truth. Your body, your magnificent biological machine, is not designed for endless operation. Sleep isn't just a pause. It's an active, essential maintenance cycle. Without it, the first casualties would be swift and profound. Within the first 24 to 48 hours, the initial euphoria of more time would rapidly dissipate, replaced by a growing haze. Your cognitive functions would be the first to falter. That razor-sharp focus? Gone. Your memory? Forget about it. Decision-making, problem-solving, creative thought, these higher-order functions would degrade, turning complex tasks into insurmountable mountains. Imagine trying to perform intricate surgery, fly a commercial airliner, or even just drive a car after 48 hours of continuous wakefulness. The risk of error, accident, and catastrophe would skyrocket. Beyond the mental fog, your physical body would start to protest. Your immune system, which relies on sleep to produce protective cytokines and replenish its fighting cells, would weaken dramatically. You become a walking target for every pathogen imaginable, constantly battling infections your body could normally shrug off. Your metabolism would go haywire. Hormones regulating hunger, satiety, and stress would spiral out of control, leading to rapid weight gain or loss, and an increased risk of chronic diseases like diabetes and heart conditions. Your muscles would ache, your eyes would burn, and a persistent, throbbing headache would become your constant companion. Then there's the brain itself. During wakefulness, our neurons are incredibly active, producing metabolic byproducts, essentially cellular waste. While we sleep, a remarkable system called the glymphatic system kicks into high gear, flushing these toxins, including amyloid beta proteins linked to Alzheimer's, out of the brain. Without sleep, this waste would accumulate, literally poisoning our neural pathways. It would be like trying to run a computer at full capacity without ever cleaning out its vents. Eventually, it overheats and crashes. The brain would become increasingly inflamed, unable to clear the debris, leading to cellular damage and accelerating neurodegeneration. This isn't just about feeling tired. It's about the very architecture of your brain starting to crumble under the relentless assault of wakefulness. Hash the descent into madness. A mind unmoored as the biological storm rages, the psychological fallout would be even more terrifying. Beyond mere fatigue, a persistent state of sleeplessness unravels the very fabric of our minds. After just a few days, the initial irritability would morph into profound emotional dysregulation. Minor annoyances would trigger disproportionate rage. Empathy would erode, making even the simplest social interactions fraught with tension and misunderstanding. Imagine a world where everyone is perpetually short-tempered, anxious, and prone to outbursts. The most chilling consequence would be the onset of hallucinations and psychosis. Deprived of sleep, the brain, in its desperate attempt to process information and make sense of its environment, begins to misinterpret reality. People would start seeing things that aren't there, hearing voices, and developing paranoid delusions. The lines between what's real and what's imagined would blur into oblivion. Your brain would essentially be dreaming while you're awake, but without the narrative structure or safety net of actual sleep. This isn't a temporary state. Without the restorative reset of sleep, these episodes would become increasingly frequent, vivid, and persistent, trapping individuals in a waking nightmare. Memory, learning, and creativity would become relics of a bygone era. Sleep plays a crucial role in memory consolidation, transferring short-term memories into long-term storage and pruning unnecessary information. Without it, our capacity to learn new things would be severely crippled, and existing memories would become fragmented and inaccessible. What would education look like in a world where students couldn't retain information for more than a few hours? What about innovation, art, philosophy? These endeavors require deep thought, pattern recognition, and the ability to connect disparate ideas, all functions that plummet without adequate rest. Our intellectual evolution would not just stall, it would actively reverse, as minds become increasingly disoriented and incapable of complex thought. Hash societies collapse. The endless grind now, zoom out from the individual to the collective. What happens when billions of sleepless, irritable, paranoid, and cognitively impaired individuals are forced to coexist and maintain a functioning society? The initial burst of productivity, if it ever materialized, would quickly give way to chaos. Consider the backbone of modern civilization, infrastructure. Transportation systems, pilots, truck drivers, train operators, air traffic controllers demand peak alertness. A world without sleep would mean an immediate, catastrophic surge in accidents, rendering travel inherently dangerous, if not impossible. Healthcare professionals, already operating under immense pressure, would collapse under the strain. Doctors making critical diagnoses, nurses administering medication, surgeons performing delicate operations. All would be compromised, leading to a massive loss of life and a complete breakdown of medical services. The economy would grind to a halt. Factories, once humming with 24/7 output, would be plagued by errors, machinery breakdowns due to human mistakes, and a workforce too impaired to operate effectively. Supply chains would unravel as logistics fail. The financial markets, built on complex algorithms and human decision-making, would experience unprecedented volatility, eventually collapsing under the weight of irrational choices and systemic failures. Money would quickly lose its meaning in a world where basic survival became the primary concern. Social cohesion would disintegrate. Every interaction would be tinged with aggression and suspicion. Governance would become impossible. How do you lead a population that is collectively descending into psychosis? Law enforcement would be overwhelmed by rampant crime, fueled by irritability, paranoia, and a complete breakdown of moral reasoning. The collective human experience, once defined by collaboration and shared understanding, would devolve into a struggle for individual survival, a fragmented existence devoid of empathy or long-term planning. There would be no shared moments of peace, no collective silence of the night for reflection. The constant light, the constant noise, the constant demand would be relentless, a sensory overload with no escape. Hash the ultimate cost. Redefining humanity, this thought experiment forces us to confront a profound question. What is the fundamental nature of humanity without sleep? If sleep is a universal characteristic woven into the fabric of almost all complex life, from fruit flies to whales, then its absence wouldn't just be an inconvenience. It would be an existential crisis. Why did sleep evolve? Scientists hypothesize many reasons: energy conservation, brain waste removal, memory consolidation, emotional regulation, even predator avoidance. Whatever the initial impetus, it clearly provided such a massive evolutionary advantage that it became indispensable. Without it, the species would simply not survive. Could humanity adapt to a sleepless existence? It's highly improbable. Our current biological machinery is so deeply reliant on sleep that a fundamental rewrite would be necessary. A genetic overhaul that would take millennia, if it were even possible, and would likely mean the emergence of an entirely new species, not the humanity we recognize. The constant wakefulness would also radically alter our perception of time and existence. The natural rhythm of day and night, the quiet contemplation of the stars, the restorative darkness, all would be lost. An eternal day of frantic, deteriorating activity. Would art still exist? Perhaps a frantic, disjointed form of it, reflecting the chaos within. Would philosophy still thrive? What meaningful insights could arise from a mind constantly on the brink of collapse? The very concept of personal growth, self-improvement, or spiritual reflection seems contingent on periods of quiet introspection and mental reset that sleep provides. Ultimately, the thought of a sleepless world leads us to a stark conclusion. Sleep isn't just about rest, it's about renewal. It's about the nightly reforging of our minds, the repair of our bodies, and the silent, essential processing that allows us to engage with reality, to connect with one another, and to strive for meaning. Without it, we wouldn't be superhuman. We would cease to be human at all. We would be a biological error, a species trapped in a perpetual state of decay, relentlessly driven by instinct, but stripped of the very consciousness, creativity, and compassion that define our kind. So the next time you feel that comforting pull of sleep, that irresistible urge to close your eyes and surrender to the night, remember this journey. Remember the profound, often unacknowledged gift that is slumber. It's not a waste of time. It's the invisible architect of our reality, the silent guardian of our sanity, and the indispensable foundation of our very existence. Cherish it, protect it, and never underestimate the delicate, profound balance between the waking world and the mysteries held within the embrace of the night. The question isn't just, what if we never slept? But would we even be if we never slept?